Hey everyone, welcome to Daily Revelations. I'm doing 2 videos again in a day. As I talked to a friend yesterday, I said, I'd like to have a regular schedule when I can do videos, but life kind of takes its own course. So I want to give you that freedom. And when I first start out this video, this is not what the video is about, but life has an ebb and flow to it. Yesterday morning at 8:30, my cleaning lady showed up and there's no time for video. And by afternoon, I'm just really not in the mood to shoot a video. So it's okay. It's okay to put things off if it just doesn't work. And I want to encourage you. That doesn't mean that we can be procrastinators either. But if God has called you to do something, do it, and do it at the time that is right. Don't feel like you have to be forced to be a robot either. So we're going to talk about grief today. And I had a very compelling discussion with a mom the other night who was grieving the loss of a lot of things in her life. And she said, it's not as bad as other people. And I think we do that. We belittle what we go through. And yet what we're going through is what we're going through. And we have to, grief is a part of life. It's a process. It is not something that we can scale compared to what other people are going through. It doesn't make what we're experiencing less. So that was my first encouragement but there's loss. There is loss in what you're going through. It doesn't, and we have to allow that time to allow grief to have its process and to let go as God works in and through us, of letting go of whatever we have, whether it's a dream, whether it's the death of someone, whether it is just expectations that weren't fulfilled. And God knows, He understands. So I just want to start out with that. But in Lamentations 1, we see the people of Israel grieving greatly. Here's some of the words that they use. I just made a list. We're lonely. We're weeping. That's said twice. There's no rest. There's mourning. We're troubled. There's distress. We're remembering the precious things that we used to have. We're groaning. That's 4 times. We're in pain. That's twice. And we have a loss of strength. All of these things push to say, what we're missing out. And even they go to the point in verse 16 of saying, my children are desolate. The future that I don't see now happening is a loss. I'm grieving that for not even myself, but for the next generation. We go through a lot of things. A lot of people are grieving right now just because of everything going on with COVID, cancellations. We just had a cancellation of my daughter's camp a couple days ago, and now our family vacation that we had revolving around that is not going to happen. And so just getting through the process of all of these things that we had anticipated that no longer will be. But God knows that, and He wants you to press through this grieving and find something that He is making beautiful out of the process. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden we have to say, oh, I love this, and that's a lie. So what do we have to learn from this? Well, I interviewed a guy named Jason Haig a while ago. I wanted to show you his book. It's called Aching Joy. And this is such a good book. He is a father and a pastor who has a son with severe autism, and just about the grief that he went through in discovering and letting go of what dreams and aspirations he had for his son to what God had instead. And it is an aching joy. It doesn't mean that the aching, the grieving, all this pain goes away. It's something we process through, and God makes it unshakable. And that's why I call this video Unshakable Grief. I want to share also that there's something more in this. And Psalm 16, verses 8 and 11 say this: I have set the Lord continually before me. Because He is at my right hand, I will not be shaken. You will make known to me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. in your right hand are pleasures evermore. We eventually, as we grieve, allow those things to slip out of our hands. But it does take grieving to allow that to happen. And so don't feel like I have to just be happy. I have to put on a happy face. No, that is not how we process as humans what we lose. We grieve. We go through the steps of grieving, and it may be denial, it may be anger, and those things are normal. And yet, we put God before us. That's what the psalmist says. We put God before us, and then all of those other things that trouble us are behind him. So that every time that we see them through the lens of God. And then he said, because God is at my right hand, that's your strong hand. That's the one that you will give the most power to. And if you are transmitting whatever energy you have towards God, he will allow that grieving to turn to joy. And in his presence, when we go towards his presence versus towards just trying to give up that grief or trying to struggle through those phases ourselves, it's not as effective as when we press into God and we find in the midst of our grieving his presence and his joy. So I hope that is an encouragement to you. Thanks for joining me on Daily Revelations, and I will see you again in the next video. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.